Hi everybody. Like I said yesterday, I was going to be working on something a little bit different. It's not going to be ready today, but it's definitely going to be ready tomorrow. I hope that it's informative and that you can take something away from it that's practical. I'm going to jump right into the news real quick, but I'm not even going to read this entire article because this is going to talk more about the history of things rather than political pandering here. Now, recently, Governor Cuomo said that he was going to institute something similar to AB 5 in New York. And it's funny, I think I've referenced the quote before, those who forget the past are doomed to repeat it. And there already has been a situation in New York where there were too many drivers, congestion was becoming a problem, and safety was definitely a concern. In the 1930s, it led to the Haas Act. Basically, it's what set up the medallion system for taxi drivers today. Every other state just pulled New York's model of the medallion system. I'm gonna take a look at the actual article that talks about Cuomo, and then we're gonna take a look at a few other resources so that we can remember history instead of forgetting it. Recently, he compared the gig economy to sweatshops, and he vowed to end the fraud. And here's a gem of a quote. "A driver is not an independent contractor simply because she drives her own car on the job," Cuomo said, echoing years-old rhetoric of worker advocates. "A newspaper carrier is not an independent contractor because they ride their own bicycle. A domestic worker is not an independent contractor because she brings her own broom and mop to the job. It is exploitive, abusive, it's a scam, it's a fraud, it must stop, and it has to stop here and now." That's very well and good for a guy that's pretty well off himself. There are a lot of reasons why people work in the gig economy, and while some people are definitely in a bad situation because they can't progress, there are also people who are holding their own because it's a stopgap measure to a path where they can better their situation for themselves. I'm actually one of them at the moment. Now, I know I referenced the Haas Act. What is that? Let's go ahead and take a look at a Wikipedia article that talks about it. I know it's Wikipedia, but I know that some academic institutions now allow you to cite Wikipedia sources. Times are changing. Let's just take a look at the section about the 1930s. During the Great Depression, New York had as many as 30,000 cab drivers. With more drivers than passengers, cab drivers were working longer hours, which led to growing public concern over the maintenance and mechanical integrity of taxi vehicles. To resolve these issues, the city considered creating a taxi monopoly, but the plan was abandoned after New York City Mayor Jimmy Walker was accused of accepting a bribe from the Parmelli Company, the largest taxi company. In 1937, Mayor LaGuardia signed the Haas Act, which introduced official taxi licenses and the medallion system that remains in place today. The law limited the total number of cab licenses to 16,900, but the number dwindled to 11,787 licenses, staying equal over the next 6 decades. Now we can see the problem that increased government regulation created here. There's definitely a monopoly system in place, although they wouldn't exactly call it that. You just had to take out a very high loan to purchase one of these medallions. A lot of companies started renting out medallions that they had purchased themselves for a very unfair rate for a taxi driver. If they didn't make their fares for the day, they were working for very low fares. Now here's the ugly truth. Every business is predicated on supply and demand. Rideshare is no different. What that means is there needs to be enough riders to meet the demand of drivers and vice versa. If there are too many drivers and not enough riders, everyone starts waiting around a lot longer and pay by the hour drops. And if there are more riders than there are drivers, it might be very busy on the driver end, but people will start to become dissatisfied with the service because they're not getting what they pay for. Let's say they call a driver and it takes him 40 minutes to get to their spot, nothing will stop them from calling a traditional cab. A really good video about this, which is already 2 years old, is called The Economics of Uber by Polymatter. I'm not affiliated with them in any way, shape, or form, but they are very informative, they have graphs, they have definitely done the homework and are able to explain the problems clearly. I suggest everyone go and watch it, it's very informative. So if more laws like these pass, more regulation for higher wages means that inevitably a cap will be set. What that means is, after enough studies have been done, they're going to eliminate people from the driver pool. They're going to cut that number down to a number that makes sense. That's mass deactivation. I'm not saying that something is better than nothing, but I am saying that the situation looks ugly all the way around. It seems like maybe we're stuck on a 100-year cycle. We're having the same type of arguments we've had before. The 1930s definitely brought out some interesting changes. And if this keeps up, there are definitely things that happened in the following decades that I would really hate to see repeat by the time I'm an old man. And maybe it was always slated to be like this. it's the snake eating its tail. The only thing that changed are the players, the place, and the technology involved. Maybe we can collaborate and create something that doesn't necessarily mean that everyone will be deactivated en masse. Maybe these companies can start to create something where human touch is going to be indispensable. I just wanted to throw out some breadcrumbs today so that you guys can get some good reading in. It'll help broaden your knowledge base and understanding of the world. So like I said, I'm pretty excited for tomorrow. It's going to be practical application day, and I hope that my next video is definitely going to help you. So if you guys are heading out for work, stay safe, be good, do well, let's go make some money.